in films such as The Virgin Suicides, Lost in Translation, Little Miss Sunshine, Reality Bites, Safe, The Lovely Bones, The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and in 2021, the Costume Designers Guild awarded her the Adrian for her impeccable work in Emerald Fennell's powerful film, Promising Young Woman. Nancy has been a member of the CDG Executive Board for several years. She is the rabble-rouser we know and love, and her contributions to the pay equity campaign will live on forever in the slogan she coined, "Naked Without Us." We are so lucky to have a few minutes tonight to get inside her crazy head. Please join me in welcoming the inimitable Nancy Steiner. Okay, let's just get right into it. Nancy, what was your entrance into the world of costume design? Tell us about your early, I think we'll get into a little bit about, just like your life, your work, and then we'll do Q&A about Virgin Suicide. So come up with your thoughts and then hold them until the end. Tell us about your early years leading up to the first feature you designed. Where did you hop onto the game board?
I was always interested in fashion and clothes growing up, and I went to fashion design school, which was Trade Tech, Los Angeles Trade Tech, because I had no money. So $50 a semester, 2 years, got a certificate, and realized I don't want to do this. This is not my thing. Luckily, I was at the time working at a punk rock store in Santa Monica, and I met a lot of stylists there and a lot of people that came in the store for clothes and costumes. And so I was assisting people. I started calling people and assisting. And then I started with kind of print and commercial kind of stuff with assisting. And then it was the time of MTV. And I was so lucky. And I started designing my own videos. And I was the grunge queen. That was an amazing time. And then I was able to interview for my first film in 1993. I did a film called Safe with Todd Haynes. And that was my first film. But even before that, I was between doing the styling assisting, I got a job as an intern on a film. And it was called I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. And it was 1988. And I was an intern for $150 a week, and I got to be friends with the supervisor, and she took me on to her next film and let me be a set costumer. I was like, whoa, I don't even know what I'm doing. But she showed me the Bible, and she showed me, how it works, and she trusted me, and it was amazing. And then I worked with her on a few films as a set costumer while also designing videos back then. So I wanted to get my film experience and understand, how that worked, because I wanted to do some.
Amazing, thank you. Love knowing the early years, because it's always, everybody comes at it from a different direction. And so you grew up in LA, right?
Yes, I did.
Yes, born and bred. And you have always had style, your own personal style. So I'm curious to know, you grew up in the punk scene a little bit, and you went to high school, you said. And, what was your personal style at that time in those early years, and how did it influence your design inclinations?
Well, I was kind of a odd girl out in that punk scene because I only wore 40s clothes. And I was I had like a red pompadour, long hair, and Exene Cervenka was my idol. I don't know if you know who that is, the band X. She was my inspiration, and she basically wore tattered 30s and 40s dresses. And I was really into the 40s. Like, I loved Judy Garland, and I loved the way she looked, and I loved the way all those ladies looked in the 40s movies, those big shoulders and little waists. And so that was my era. And I kind of dressed like that while going to punk shows, you know.
Did you ever get a chance to bring that punk, you know, your 40s style in, or did you, you know, sometimes I think it's like we're always like trying to bring our personal, some people from our life or a little bit of ourselves to the work. Was there ever a moment that worked out for you?
I think it's just always there in my DNA, like that vintage look. When I was a kid, I'm sure you know, it's like we used to just thrift all the time. And I got the most incredible clothes here, you know, back in the day. And you could go get a 40 suit for $10 at a thrift store. And I loved wearing those clothes. They felt right to me as opposed to what was in fashion then. That was me. So I felt like I was always like from another time some way. And then the punk rock is just always like, that's just part of my soul. Like I will headbang till my last breath.
Okay, can you tell us, you told me the other day when we were talking about your transition from the red pompadour to what was the look after that, and how did you get there?
I kind of went for a Louise Brooks, like a little red Louise Brooks with bangs and a short, you know, and that was probably the 90s, early 90s, going into that, and just kind of you know, like getting a little out of the vintage, but still wearing vintage, but just kind of starting to wear some new clothes, like store-bought clothes, and just, you know, but so I had that, and then I kind of just went to, I really have had short hair in some way since about 94, 95.
And wasn't there, you had a relationship that ended and it sort of motivated a change, right?
Yes, I had a relationship that ended in 95 and I dyed it blue. And went to the MTV Awards in New York where I met Gwen Stefani. And then I started working with No Doubt. And I told Daniel, if you look really quick, I'm in like 3 different No Doubt videos. I have Blue Hair and Don't Speak. I think I Carry Her Train in one. I don't know. I forget all the names, but yeah, I was working with those
incredible guys. Love that you made it on camera.
Yeah, and Gwen wore my polka dot dress in Don't Speak.
Ah, cool. Wow. Okay, so that brings us to, you know, No Doubt, Don't Speak, iconic video, you know, a huge LA band, like massive influence. And so I think I'm curious to know, you know, let's talk about like creating iconic looks, because that is so often as costume designers, costume people, we are tasked with, you know, the characters must be iconic. And it's like, okay, cool. How do we do that? You know, that's such a tall order. And I think that in truth, a costume or a character can only really accrue that kind of notoriety with time and, you know, letting it live. And so I just wonder, you know, can you talk to us a little bit about how you approach that concept as a designer? How do you handle that when that comes to you?
I feel like that iconic or like that branding kind of thing happened so much later. I remember, I was telling Daniel, I remember, you know, I had done videos for years, and then this, you know, phrase was coming up of like, we need to make like the right image for them, or this look, or this kind of iconic. They wouldn't say iconic, but it was like branding before branding, you know, and they just didn't know what to say. It's a lot of pressure when you're dealing with a music entertainer, and you know, sometimes they have style and sometimes they don't, and you gotta help them along. And then, you know, so it really depends on who you work with and how much you jive with their taste too. I think like there's a lot of people I've worked with that we just get each other, and I feel the same. And then there's some that it's like, really, this is going to be great. You trust me, but back then, who trusts who, and everybody's got their own opinion, as we well know. So yeah, that was a lot of pressure. But I don't think of making anything iconic. Mm-hmm. I just think of doing the right thing. I mean, when we did this movie, who knew, and it kind of didn't do well when it came out, and it's become iconic later. But any of these smaller films, it's all the small films that have become the favorites. And I never knew what would happen with any of them. I never thought any of them would be bigger than an indie film.
Beautiful. It seems like you just live in the moment with who you're working with, and you are able to feel them out.
Yeah, obviously we all want to serve the director, but I'm really into reality. Like, I'm not a sci-fi person at all. It's not my world. I'm really into making things look real and like believable. I want people to have a sense of their own being in the movie.
Let's talk about how you got Kurt Cobain into a green sweater.
Oh, that was really hard.
So how would you dress Nirvana? What did that look like on the day?
The first video I did was Come As You Are, and they're just dressed in their own clothes, really. I mean, it's, back then you went thrift shopping, you got a bunch of stuff. Hey, come in the motorhome. Like, it was the motorhome back then. The old school before they started making them for the industry. And I threw a bunch of stuff on the bed, and I'm like, do you guys like any of this? And my boyfriend was the director on that video. So I had a little in. That was just, that's just like going with what they wear. That was easy. And then we did In Bloom, and I put them in it was the black and white one. And I amazingly found 3, they were red, white, and blue suits at Western, and they were all 3 different sizes. Kurt and Chris and Dave. I'm totally forgetting. I did Foo Fighters too. But yeah, so they're like 3 different huge different sizes, and I was like, yay, 3 suits, and they all fit and they look good. And then we did the dresses, and that was fun.
Amazing. Can you talk to us a little bit? Well, I'm curious to know about, you worked with Sheryl Crow, you did Smashing Pumpkins, you worked with Bjork, did Bjork Human Nature, and also Bachelorette with Michel Gondry. Yeah, amazing. I mean, which one do we want to know about? Smashing Pumpkins, Tonight. How did you get there?
Oh, God, I love that video. I was in London in, I guess it was 95 or 96. And I got a call from my friends are this directing couple, Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Ferris. And I met them back when I was working at this place, Nana, in Santa Monica. And woo, yeah, that's right. I met Jonathan. He was working at Muskrat, the vintage store across the street on Broadway, and his girlfriend Valerie, and they got married, and they started making videos and commercials. And so I was working with them, and they were doing that Tonight. And they called me. They're like, can you come back? We need you to do this. And I was like, yes, I'm coming. And I think that was my first Smashing Pumpkins video and then I did like 3 more, or 2 or 3 more. But that was magical. I mean, it was based on Méliès, the black and white film maker from like the teens and 20s, and it was really fun. And I loved it.
It's thank you for it, because it inspired me as a young person. I was rapt, and there's those things that you hold on to that are like, that's why I'm here. And that's one of them. Yeah, for sure. The Bjork too, as well. I was just like, I don't know what's happening here, but I love it. Yeah. You've had some really great sort of recurring collaborations. And, I'm curious to know at this point in your career, what can you talk about, what that's like to have sort of repeat offenders and the shorthand and all of that?
Yeah. I mean, John and Val, as I said, I met them early before we were even doing this. They went to UCLA Film School. And Val was a dancer. But we were doing videos back then and then into commercials. And I was lucky enough to do their first film, which is Little Miss Sunshine. And I mean, again, what a special experience that was. I mean, it was really one of my favorite experiences still to this day. To work with my friends, making this crazy film that they just got the best cast, and it was magic. I mean, yeah, I was so pleased to be able to do that with them. And I did another movie with them called Ruby Sparks that not a lot of people saw, but and then our lives have gone in weird different directions where, they're asking for me to do stuff and I'm not always available, or they're doing a TV show in New York and I'm not going to work as a local. And, so we haven't been able to work together in a long time. But I love them and I see them, and, that's the thing. You start off with people that you think you're just going to keep going with, and their careers change and your career changes, and you just don't know if it's going to last or not.
Thank you for sharing. Also, you are buddies with Toni Collette, isn't that right? Yeah. What's she like?
What's she like? She's awesome. I mean, I don't have a lot of actor friends. I'm not really, I don't connect a lot with.
I would say you're very connected.
But I just don't. I don't hang out. I don't go to the right parties and all that stuff. But Toni and I bonded on Little Miss Sunshine, and we've been friends ever since. I watched her kids grow up, and they moved back to Australia. And it's like, she's just a lovely person, and she's such an amazing actress. And I'm always like, oh, you do such great work. And yeah, we're in touch. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, I'd like, we've talked about Little Miss Sunshine, another career highlight that I think we all would love to celebrate you on is Lost in Translation. Is there? Yeah. What's a little tidbit you can give us about working on Lost in Translation?
It was like, come to Japan, we're going to do this movie. And I was like, okay, I want to bring one person with me, because I don't speak Japanese. And they said, no, we're going to get you help there. It's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. And the first day I got there, and I was told, so back then, I don't know if it's the same now, but in order to get an assistant, you had to hire another stylist, because like they had their assistants, but somehow I could hire them with another stylist. So I got there and I'm like, okay, let's meet at the office at 9:00. And I get there, and one of the girls is there who does not speak English. And she says, oh, we're going to the other lady's office. And I'm like, okay, well, we're working here. So I go, and here's their stylist boss, who doesn't speak English, hasn't read the script. And I'm like, can we go out and shop? Let's go out and shop. So I did have a translator who was not a real translator. She was an intern for Sophia here in LA. She spoke Japanese. So they're like, make her Nancy's translator. I don't know if you guys know, but a translator is a real thing. It's not just try and figure out what she said and make it And so my translator's with me, And I said, can you call that stylist lady and ask her, where are you going to find a cool watch for a guy? And I'm shopping for Giovanni's character. And I get the word back, oh, he's got lots of money. You should go to Rolex. And I said, that's not what I asked. I said, where can I go get a cool watch for a young guy? I went into the producers. I said, you guys, this is not going to work out. And I called my friend, Anita Brown. And I said, Anita, can you please come to Japan tomorrow? I need help. And she got on a plane and came. And it gives me chills that she was there to help me. She's working with me on a project right now. Like, we did it together. It was really hard because they didn't have Bill's size of clothes in Japan. I had to go, there was one department store that had the big man store. But we were having to get everything from the States because they didn't fit in things. And, luckily Helmut Lang sent me suits for him, but I was calling back to the United States for even Scarlett. Her shoe size was an 8 and it was too big in Japan, So it was super challenging. We didn't have a trailer. We would set up in a hotel. They would get a hotel on location, one hotel room for Scarlett, one for Bill. And Snoops and I would go sit in the lobby. We'd set up their clothes, go wait downstairs. It was super challenging. But, again, another film that I had no idea would have such a great reception. And I'll tell you my favorite memory, because I still have a big crush on Bill Murray. And one night there was I don't know if we went out to dinner or whatever, but he gave me and his hair and makeup and I think the script supervisor the first iPod. He gave us an iPod, and I'll never forget walking down the street, one ear thing in his ear, one in mine, listening to the Rolling Stones, and just singing out loud in the streets.
Wow, you lived that movie.
It was a great
You were
memory.
there. It was you.
It was, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was awesome.
That's so cool. Wow, great story. Thank you. Let's talk about Promising Young Woman a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
What?
Emerald Fennell, obviously super hot since she, made another movie that we love this year. But what was your experience of making that film? Because I also want to kind of just point out the through line of tone in all the films that you've done. And I think we'd be remiss to say that, you are a huge part of that. That you bring your edge to the things that you've done. And I think it translates. It's on camera, and we all love it. How did you approach that script? How did you begin? And there were some really interesting color and texture choices, I thought, that you made in that film. And how did you get there?
So when I got the job, well, first of all, I read that script and I was like, this is insane and I want to do it. It was so tiny. I had 3.5 weeks to prep it. I think we shot in 23 days. But it was contained. It wasn't a lot of extras. It wasn't a lot of big stunts or anything like that. So, when I got it, I envisioned her quite different, I will say. I envisioned her darker and not as effervescent, shall we say. So I have to give it to Emerald. It was her thing. She wanted her to be looking like candy. Just like this facade of, I'm not going to show you anything about me. I'm just going to be this other person. And we tried not to make it sexual. Like nothing was low cut. I mean, even if it was snug fit, it wasn't supposed to be sexy. It was just supposed to be like sweet and pastel and girly. So that's kind of how I went about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think as the viewer, I was it made me think about the costumes, because I think instinctually I was like, oh, she's so calculating, and she's got depth on depth. Why would she be dressing in this way? And I think it's almost a counterpoint, and that works so well. And just happy to celebrate you about that one, because it was so powerful.
I mean, I have to give it to Emerald. It's really her direction that sent me that way, and I just think she's brilliant. I mean, she's such a smart, creative woman. Yeah.
How do you handle that when you sort of have to change tack? Usually you're such an instinctual being. You're just like, you get the messages and you feel the feelings and you shout it out, and it's so often spot on. And so how do you, with a director, sort of take in that information and say, okay, let me try this other direction?
Well, it was her direction. It really was her direction. So that wasn't difficult. I think it was just speaking to what she wanted. I think that was the thing, is getting it again. So, I mean, I hope and I pray that my work is subtle. That's what I want. I don't want it to be loud and garish. I want it to be subtle. I don't want, it's not about the loud shirt, it's about how they wear it. It's, you know what I mean? I don't want to be shouting, unless you're supposed to be shouting, and then you shout. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I really feel like I want to tell the story and just fit into that jigsaw puzzle. Kind of.
That's so beautiful. I think so often it's easy as a designer for our egos to make their way onto camera, and we think we need to have our voice heard through the choices. So it's really nice to hear that your intention is often to just be grounded in reality and be quiet. Beautiful. You just said the way they wear it, and I think that is evident with Trip Fontaine. That shot of him walking down the hallway, and he's so long and lean, and his, the pants are slung low on his hips, and the little bit of blouse of the tucked in shirt, and he's got the jacket slung over his shoulder, and it's like, how much of that was him? How much of that is you?
Both of us.
Get us there.
It's all of us. I mean, it's the direction, it's the actor, and it's what he's wearing. And I put him in a Western shirt. I don't know if you noticed, but he's actually wearing a white Western shirt as opposed to a uniform shirt. But he had to have his, he was a stud. I mean, he had to just be personally styled, and luckily those pants from that era had that little flare, and they just it's just so perfect. Even though they were uniform pants, it worked.
Amazing. Can you talk to us about the homecoming dresses?
Yeah, the homecoming dresses. So it was like that, going to the fabric store with your mom kind of thing. And I wanted the dresses to look like they were made from the same pattern that their mom made them. And so, you get a pattern, you got all the variations you can do. And I found 3 different fabrics in the same print, a yellow flower, a pink, and a blue. And I was like, this is my lucky day. I can't even believe it. And we made those dresses.
Was that in Toronto?
That was in Toronto. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And was that someone on your crew that made them, or did you have a shop locally?
I think we sent them out because we weren't building. The only things I really made were those dresses and his suit. I made his suit. So I didn't have an in-house tailor. I think we just sent them out to be made.
And you shared with me a funny anecdote of you working on a commercial in the last number of years. Can you tell us that story?
Well, yeah, I've actually worked on several projects, commercials. I do commercials still, and you end up seeing a reference for Virgin Suicides in there, and they don't even know who I am. On a commercial, they don't know who I am. They don't care who I am. and I get reference for my films. Yeah.
I think that means you've had a great career, that it's like coming back around and it's so influential.
Sure.
I think maybe this is a good moment to sort of open it up to other questions about virgin suicides. Does anybody have any? Or I mean, we can talk about any of her movies, but does anybody want to have thoughts, feelings about the movie we saw tonight?
So, Nancy, it's so amazing to talk about your work because there's an element of stealth to it, and it's always been like so cool. And I feel like if you know, you know. The thing that I want to ask about virgin suicides is there's just this ethereal quality that's kind of pervasive through the whole film. Is that something that you and Sophia talked about from the beginning? Like, how did you inject that into like all of the clothing? Because it's not just like one thing with the girls. It keeps coming back to that kind of like transparency and filminess.
I think, yeah, we did talk about it being ethereal and kind of dreamy. I mean, I think that was Sophia's intention all along. She's got a very strong aesthetic, and obviously that was her first film, and it's just got her written all over it. It's really that dreamy, feminine kind of story, and she seems to keep telling them over and over again. It's like the girl in the middle is always the lead character, and I think it was always meant to be that way. But we didn't, I didn't dress anybody dreamy in that way. It just kind of also the way it was shot, right, and lit, makes it that way, I think.
What about the religious references? Like, there's so much in it, and like Kathleen Turner is like a battle axe in beige.
Oh, she hated me. She hated
Tell
it.
us.
I put her in those, awful polyester dresses in beige and cream, and she was like, "You're gonna ruin my career." Like, okay, I'm sorry, you're playing a part, but she did it, and James Woods was, the thing is, they knew Sophia since she was a little girl, they were all there because of their relationships with her father, and how lucky, to have that ability to like say, I want James Woods to play this part. So, connections.
But that takes some gumption, as the designer to say, no, this is the right choice for your character, and here's why. And convincing a powerful actor into the right look is a skill and talent unto itself.
Why, thank you. I didn't realize. But she went with it. I don't know how I talked her into it, but she went with it. She knew it was right. She knew it was the totally Catholic, lady that just is not going to show anything and just be a housewife. That was it.
Wow. And were those pieces rentals or purchases? Where did you find that stuff?
I did a little prep here, and I shipped some crates up to Toronto, and then I just kept shopping. And I'll never forget Aggie Gerard Rogers calling me. I didn't know her, but she obviously had relationship with Francis and Sophia. And she said, anything you need, you call me. I could not believe this. I didn't know her. And I needed belts and puffer vests. I could not find any on the East Coast. I couldn't find it. And she sent me stuff from here.
Like Trip Fontaine's belt? Where did that come from? Do you remember that?
I don't remember, but it probably came from the pull that Aggie did. Really, I could not find those specific things there.
That's a beautiful example of costume designers helping costume designers. Yeah.
It was amazing.
Anybody else have other questions about this film?
The sister who dies first, Cecilia, she's in the same dress the whole movie. Is she sort of meant to be a ghost? in that, or because she doesn't change, which I thought was very interesting. When you see her later with her sisters, she's still in the same dress. And in the tree, too.
Yeah. So that dress is in the book, and they didn't really explain it in the film. The dress was supposed to be from the attic or the basement. It was supposed to be a 1930s wedding dress.
Oh,
I'm
interesting.
sorry, and we made that too. But so it was. I thought it was going to be a line at some point, or it's going to be explained, but it wasn't. So it was supposed to be like Kathleen's grandmother's dress from the 30s that was found in the attic or the basement or something, and so that's what she was wearing the whole time.
Oh,
and we made that too. Yeah.
it's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Anybody else other questions for Nancy about her career or anything before I rapid fire shoot a last batch of questions at her? Oh, one more.
Not a one.
Going back to No Doubt, because I personally, actually, music videos inspired me, and I worked on commercials, but I was always excited that the best DPs on commercials actually filmed the most iconic, like Michael Jackson videos and Smashing Pumpkins. So can you tell us more about the dress in the No Doubt video? Like maybe like a story, where'd you get it? Did you wear it before?
Yeah, I think I said earlier that's my dress, that
Like,
polka
give
dot
a
dress.
Story, like did you wear it to like some special event?
No. So she didn't like to wear dresses back then. She was really into her pants. She didn't like her legs. She wouldn't show her calves. And we talked her into that because it was a romantic song, and we wanted her to look softer than her like little bra crop top and low slung pants. And she really trusted the director, Sophie Muller, who they ended up working on with over and over again. And we shot that at Triangle Stage in Silver Lake.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Where I shot many a rock video back in the day. So yeah.
That was one of the first silent sound stages
Silent
before the
soundstage.
talkies.
Mac Sennett stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, super old stage. There's like ghosts
creepy
there or
in there,
something.
yeah.
It's good though.
I was shot in there too.
Yeah.
Spencer, you got a question for us?
I do. Thank you, Nancy, for this time. I think one of my favorite film scenes of all time is Olive's dancing and Little Miss Sunshine. If you could just take us back to that moment, because it's truly magical.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, it's when I just saw that for the first time in a long time too. Searchlight was having a 30th anniversary, 20th anniversary, and they showed that at the El Capitan. You know, we came up with that because her grandpa had taught her the dances and taught her the striptease. And so we wanted there to be things to pull off. And I was like, you guys, let's do some breakaway pants. And they were like, oh my God, that's great. We just love it. And so that's kind of how that came to be. It was kind of like old-fashioned vaudeville with the top hat and the bow tie. And then we're gonna get saucy underneath, you know. But so that was really fun too. And I mean, Abigail, when she was 9 years old, what a professional actress she was. I mean, incredible. She went through it all. You know, she's wearing a little tummy too. She's, you know, we gave her padding, but it was padding. You know, it wasn't like a foam belly. So every day we're like pushing it over this way and pushing over that way, because it was just moving all the time. It was really janky. I mean, it was a low budget film. We didn't have, and I don't even think back then they made the forms.
Yeah.
The real, like, I don't think
The latex ones.
Yeah, I don't think they had that back then.
Not for
Like,
9-year-old girls.
No. Mm-mm.
Whose idea was that? To like pad her, to make her less svelte, like just
Yeah,
to give her a awkward body shape?
You know, it's that she's a little chubby back then, and, you know, and her dad is hassling her about eating ice cream, and so, you know, they wanted to just give her a little extra. And, you know, I swear you could not make that film now.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't. And it's not evil and it's not mean. It's just, but it's, it is not PC.
Yeah.
Well, you're not very PC.
Oh, well, that I know.
Thank you so much for this time sharing yourself with us. I wanna steal James Lipton's questions at the end of the Actors Studio and rapid fire get you to just answer some things about yourself. Just whatever the first thing that comes to mind. What's your favorite word?
Brilliant. I don't know.
That's good. What's your least favorite word?
Starts with a C.
What turns you on?
Creativeness, creation.
What turns you off?
Pretentiousness.
What sound or noise do you love?
My dog purring.
Oh, Chauncey. What sound or noise do you hate?
Garbage trucks backing up. Beep, 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 beep.
Yes. What's your favorite curse word?
I mean, they're all the same. I don't know. Fuck? I don't know.
I like it with a question mark. That's pretty good. What profession, other than your own, would you attempt?
I'd like to be an interior designer.
I can tell from your Zoom screen that you did your house and it's cool. I've never been there. Waiting for an invitation.
I've invited you.
You probably have. Nancy, we love you. We love your career, and we're excited for what is next. It's not like it's over. So.